Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young and I'm one of your fantastic visionary hosts. Joining me as always is our other fantastic and visionary host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
I love that you're so upbeat with your word choices this week. And not like nightmare or like...
Yeah.
You
I
know?
thought it was like... I think this is the first time ever they have been like purely complimentary, right? Probably.
Yeah. This is what...
Just keeps you on your toes.
It's true. I'm like,
yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm fantastic and visionary. Thank you very much.
Makes me feel good about myself right away. What's the crack?
What is the
crack? I don't know how to talk about, like... I know we don't talk about the world and like what's going on in the world, but I feel like there's enough happening that like we just have to acknowledge that. Are you guys having an egg shortage, or is that just us?
I think it's mostly you guys. Yeah,
okay.
I don't think we're having any major problems. I mean, like I can only speak from my experience, but I've been able to buy eggs without issue, and the price hasn't went through the roof.
Okay.
So yeah,
like an 18 pack of eggs is like $15 American. Right now.
That's nuts.
And we refrigerate them, which is the normal way to do things. But I guess it's shortages because of the avian flu that's going around.
I mean, it's I'm aware of that, and I've seen like stories about like people queuing like at dawn at Costco just to get eggs and things like that.
Stole, I can't remember what state or city, but it was like on some. It was on the Drudge Report. Okay, I'm admitting it. I have a problem reading the Drudge Report every fucking day multiple times. But he was like somewhere in some place in the country. I'm really doing a good job today so far. Someone stole like 500 eggs. And like the Waffle House, if you've been to America, you've probably been or seen a Waffle House.
I haven't been in one. I really want to go to one.
Yeah,
I've never been in one.
I mean, any place that's open 24 hours a day, it's like, ugh. But they're doing like a surcharge on eggs because like it's like so much of our culture is based on breakfast and like diner culture here. So
that's so true. Actually, I suppose like as well, obviously you any bakeries are going to need eggs and things like that as well. So there's such demand.
I've always talked about, God, I'm so weird this morning. Sorry. But like eggs are so interesting, right? Scramble them. You put them in other foods.
Yep.
You can fry them. You can make huevos rancheros, which is the best meal of all time. So I don't know. That's happening. We now, I just like, I feel like I'm like being hit with a fire hose. Every day.
It is brutal. And I mean, like,
Is it affecting you guys?
Not massively. I mean, again, as an individual, not really. But, like, I think that all the stuff with the tariffs and things like that is going to have a real interesting sort of knock-on effect worldwide. And I've had other American friends talk to me about this, and they really can't understand the fixation with American politics, but like I think that it's for better for worse, because America is so big and because America is arguably the most prominent, the most important country in the world.
We like American to say we're the biggest superpower.
Yes. I like there's some truth there for sure. But like I mean, you're in the conversation at least anyway.
Yeah,
and
a little bit.
I feel like whether you like it or not, it absolutely has an impact on how the rest of the world works, and like they are a leader in a lot of things, like a thought leader and like policy leader, that sort of thing. And obviously their contribution to global organizations is obviously pretty important too. So it's definitely something I think people are at a minimum kind of nervously watching and seeing how it all kind of plays out.
I feel like I cursed us. Like I made a bad joke after I came to see you and like after visiting London too. And I was like, this is all just so nice. And you have all this access and like, quality of life is better. Like maybe we need a monarchy. And I think it's my fault.
No. Like, I think I have seen some compelling, chat about, um, you know, basically governments around the world are changing just because inflation has been so bad and
Yeah.
prices have been going up, and that is such an important topic to people around the world, and that this government, it really didn't really matter who was at the head of it. It was probably going to change anyway. I think that it's a shame that perhaps a certain person did get into power, but it probably was fairly inevitable. It's
Yeah.
just kind of dealing with the fallout now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's to blame. I just think that there's a lot of turmoil worldwide, and as a result, you see a lot of these political changes happening. Yeah, it sucks.
Mm.
Like, I mean, freaking, there's a political party called Reform UK who have got really big here recently, like really big, and it's like, fuck me, the same sort of populist sort of heavily right wing bullshit, and they're just it's not your fault, it's everybody else's fault, sort of stuff that gets people into power. Yeah. And all too often, when they get into power, they're completely fucking incompetent, and and so the world turns.
So I got out of the house finally.
Good.
And I took my daughter to see Wicked on stage. They're
doing
a Broadway tour. It was so good. It was so good. Like, for those who have seen the movie and or seen the play, like the Defying Gravity part in the show on stage is like so much better than in the movie. It's like you can't really compare the two, but it was really fun. We skipped school because I'm a cool mom. Nice. And it was almost a 3-hour show, and then after that I took her out and we went out to dinner, like right on the water, on the ocean, saw like porpoises and dolphins and all the things that like to come out when Andy visits. But it was so fun, and it like took all my energy, but I did it, and nice. She had a great time, and yeah, that was a nice part of my week.
That rocks. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's, and Wicked really wasn't on my radar. I really didn't know. I had a vague idea, the outline of what it was about, but like it wasn't really on my radar until I saw the movie, and I loved it. And I definitely like to see the stage production now for sure, and I'm really curious to see how it works versus the movie as well.
It's really good. It's like,
yeah.
Because I hadn't seen it in so long that I was like, how is this even going to work? And like, I'm going to be disappointed. And I really, really wasn't. So
that's great.
I don't want to ruin all of the stage magic, but it was fucking awesome.
It's on my list. I mean, the songs are also excellent, and I think that's what really makes the show. Because like, I have definitely seen shows that are well put together and well staged, but if the songs aren't there, it's just, it was like Moana 2. I mean, it's a different thing, obviously.
Like, we're on the same wavelength. I was literally going to say Moana 2. Because it was just like, I was like, they weren't even on an island. They were like in an underwater magic land the whole time. It was, whatever.
Like, the core song, the song that starts with, is okay. It's good, I would say. But I think all the other songs are at least medium to bad. And it's such a shame.
You're
because,
like, it wasn't Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, yeah, unfortunately. And it's a shame because apparently, like, for Moana 2, they actually properly tapped into authentic, musicians and composers from, the islands that it was based on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I, had such high hopes for it. I just wish it had worked better for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
What about you?
So what have I got? So, still playing D&D. I've been having a great time with that. It's interesting. Like I didn't really prepare as much for the last session, so it was a little bit more seat of the pants type of thing. But I kind of quite like that in a perverse way. I like having to think on my feet. So, the storyline that they're basically playing is that they have been hired to guard a vault. There's going to be an auction the next day. They have been told, they've been asked to guard it overnight, and things happen, and like it's really interesting because it's kind of like, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to loot the vault? Are they going to try to escape? Are they just going to try to be good boys and like, protect it? But there are two core characters that I really enjoyed playing, and I really wasn't sure. One of them I had an idea of what I wanted to do with him, but one of them I wasn't really too sure. So basically, the owner of the auction house and this like security guard that she'd hired, who was like an ex-con man essentially and like a real braggart, and I kind of had an idea of like what I wanted to do with him, which was he was just like telling them stories. Like he had lost an eye, and I was just like improvising it, which was really fun because they were like, oh, so is your depth perception bad now you've lost an eye? And I was like, no, if anything it's even better. In fact, when I had two eyes I had to cover one because my eyesight was so good, just to bring myself down to that everybody else's level, that sort of thing. Just like, telling stories about like fighting 10 orcs with barehanded with both my arms broken and things like that. It was just a fun time. And
it's just a flesh wound.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And what was great was that they placed like a lizard on his shoulder. One of them has a psychic communication with a lizard, and they placed it in this guy's shoulder so they could keep track of him. And he just went to a bar and got drunk. He said he was gonna patrol the grounds, and they just kept checking in on him every now and again. It was great fun. Anyway, and the other character was the auction house owner, and I wasn't sure what to do with her. But then I was like, oh, I really like the idea of a manager who's like, everybody needs to work as a team. Let's all work together. And it was great fun.
Good.
So we've been having a nice time with that. So it continues to bring me. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it continues to bring me joy. I've got something else in joy, but yeah, it's great fun. The other thing that I have done since I last saw you was I went to see Love Hurts. So I don't know if you know what this is.
I do not.
Yeah, nobody knows what it is really. It was just because I had a bit of time at the weekend. I was like, my safe space is the movies.
Yeah.
Right? I just love going to the movie theater.
Me too, buddy.
In the dark. It's the best. And it was on, and it's,
oh, wow.
Ki Hui Kwan.
Yeah. Our
saying
Goonie friend.
I'm saying that wrong. Yes. And I was like, cool. And it was also by the guys that made Like Nobody, which I quite enjoyed, and one of the guys had worked in John Wick and things, and I was like,
it's got
okay.
2 Goonies in it.
Yeah, it does. That's true. And I forgot about that connection actually until now. You're so right. And it was a bit disappointing, honestly, because it was just really flimsily held together. I mean, it was an hour 20. A movie was like an hour 20. It was over, which I appreciated, and the action was good, but tonally it was a bit weird, and it was just a kind of mix mash of. It was attempting to like marry a martial arts movie with a rom-com-y style, so it was appropriate for Valentine's Day, and it didn't fully work.
I feel like movies that try and like attach themselves to a holiday don't ever work.
Oh, I hear you.
Like,
yeah,
really.
That's true. Well, I mean, yeah, I think there's been some successful Christmas movies and stuff.
I mean,
but by and large,
yeah, like A Christmas Story, but that's based on a book.
Bad Santa.
I'm not a Love Actually fan.
Fair enough.
Like anything that has to do with it is weird to me too. Too many cast members. Like I don't like.
Too many people being horrible to each other,
right.
Being dressed up as, oh, it's so romantic.
Right. So
it's
yeah.
We were having a conversation about this. I was having a conversation with a friend about this recently about romance and this idea of like somebody asking permission to kiss somebody else, and some people going, oh no, God, I couldn't do that. That's horrible. But that's consent though, right? I mean, is that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
But then it takes the romance out of the moment. But then I'm kind of thinking, but it's only a romantic moment if you want them to kiss you. If it's somebody who you don't want to kiss you,
I've been
It's
in
awful.
that situation, and it's not
Yeah.
comfortable. Where you're just kind of like, oh, I feel weird, and then it's like, now what do I like? It's
Yeah, yeah,
confusing,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so I'm right there with you. And it is consent. You're not wrong.
It's true. It really is.
And like sometimes
So yeah,
I'll even like ask the kids like, "Hey, can I just give you a smooch?" And they're like,
yeah,
"Yeah," but like I don't like. They're old enough now where like it matters who's in their bubble, and like I want them to
agreed.
practice that.
Yes, and it's also good for them to know that, I think, as well. And I
Not
think
that they ever
increases
deny me, because like I'm their mom and like they love me so fucking much.
that. Exactly. But you're right, because like it's smart to do that now, because like there are so many people who are just like habitual boundary tramplers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's great for other people in the world, really.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that's what I have for what's correct this week. Do you have any occurring?
I don't. I think
Okay, I
I
don't.
used all my time on that. What was it, last week or the week before?
Yeah, I do. No, I don't have anything. I thought no, no, no. Well, let me see it for next time. Yeah, I've got nothing for this week anyway.
Okay.
So shall we get into our topic of
Yes.
the week?
Yes.
Our topic of the week is called the Dreamers of Dreams. We're going to talk about dreams, all the kind of things that means. Was that a good sentence?
Yeah. Whatever. The bar is low. It's yeah. It was great, Andy. That's
Good.
the best
Okay.
one
Thank
yet.
you. Woo! I love it.
So, I wanted to come at this kind of like talking about like obvious dreams and like recurring dreams and dreams that we have,
Yes.
but also like how dreams are viewed differently in our different cultures.
Yeah.
And I was doing
Yeah.
a little bit of like research, and there's obviously some overlap, but there's definitely some differences that I found to be pretty interesting.
That is like, and I suppose that kind of makes a ton of sense. And I mean, like, something I've thought about in terms of, cultural differences, well, I mean, in all aspects of a culture and how that influences how we think, how we act, all those sorts of things. And, you introduce somebody in a different culture and something that may seem normal or standard, I guess, could be very kind of odd to, people in that area. And
Yeah.
how could that not affect your dreams?
Yeah. And also interpretation of dreams and
Yeah.
their meaning is different in some ways. So I'm going to give you the definition of dreams
Okay.
because you know me. So a dream is
Webster's, yeah.
right. I've actually defined all of this shit myself, Andy. Whatever.
Okay.
So let me put on my smart voice.
Sure.
Not because I'm reading off a piece of paper. A dream is a
Yeah.
succession of images, ideas, emotions, and sensations that usually occur involuntarily. I love that word for this. In the mind during certain stages of sleep, humans spend about 2 hours dreaming per night, and each dream lasts around 5 to 20 minutes, although the dreamer may perceive the dream as being much longer than this. The content and function of dreams have been topics of scientific, philosophical, and religious interest throughout recorded history. And I think that's my first question is like, are dreams really involuntary?
I mean, that's a good question. I feel like so like, there's, and it's, somebody, I only really kind of fairly recently in my life understood what lucid dreaming was.
Mm-hmm.
And lucid dreaming is the idea that you have some sort of control over your dream.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have had dreams in the past where I've been like, hold on a second, this is nuts.
Yeah.
This has to be a dream.
And you
And I've been able to like
woken up in
steer
your
it a little
dream.
bit, or at least kind of woken out of that.
I've never been
like,
able to do that.
Limited only, and I think one of the things that kind of gets me there a little bit is that I think the common dream I have is I get lost, and I get really badly lost, or that I'm like, going to get a flight or to get a train or whatever, and I get lost, and I'm running late for it. That is a very common theme for me. The interpretation whenever I first looked into that was that, there are aspects of your life that you're not feeling fulfilled in, maybe creatively, things like that. But it is something that kind of keeps reoccurring.
I have okay, the worst one, the one that I hate the most that is a reoccurring dream is that all my teeth fall out, or my teeth are like wiggly,
Yeah.
or I pull my teeth out.
Like the fly?
Yeah, basically. But that was like before I even saw the fly. I just saw the fly for the first time like last year. So.
Oh really? Oh no, God, that must be scarring. That movie's woo.
Yeah, it's a
spicy.
Poof. Yeah. Woo, ah.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Can I tell you, like, because I mean, I'm interested to dig into things a little bit more, but can I tell you about a dream I had?
Yes.
Within the past week?
Yes.
Okay, so, and it's the first time I've really remembered it, and I talked about it afterwards, because so, like, I feel like in the dream, it's one of those dreams that felt like it took place over a long period of time, and I found that so interesting, you saying that, you know, most of it can occur in 5 minutes, but it can seem like a long period of time. Mm-hmm. But in the dream, I was having a love affair. I was in like, you know, I feel like it was in South America or possibly Asia. Anyway, I had met a young man in this dream I was having a torrid love affair with, right?
Yeah.
It gets better. And this is why it really... And, but there was part of me was thinking, well, I think this guy might be conning me. Like, he might be, like, running a grift on me. And the very kind of final part of the dream was I was standing outside, like, it feels like a hostel or something. And so somebody comes out to me and goes, "Sir, are you sure you want to make this payment?" And I'm like, "What payment?" And it goes, there's a house deposit payment is just about to be put in your credit card. And I'd given this guy my credit card details. And then I was kind of like, I'd given, like, as I say, my lover these credit card details, and that's when I was like, hold on. what is happening here? And I kind of woke up. I remember waking up pretty quickly after that.
I had a dream.
So, yeah.
I had a dream a couple weeks ago that I paid, I want to say it was like $3 million for like 350-foot like retired Navy ship.
Okay.
And I was like getting a tour of it from like the people that would run it, and it's like really run down and like dripping, and I'm like walking around being like, oh my God, I gotta like figure out how to do that, and look at all this netting and ropes, and like and I was like, Mike's gonna be so mad that I spent $3 million on this fucking nautical boat. And like woke up and was like, Mike, like, and I told him about the dream, and he was like, that actually sounds pretty rad.
He'd be like a 3 million well spent, Beth.
Right. And then he had a dream, I don't know, like a month ago, because I either pets find me, or, you know, like,
yeah,
if there's a dog that gets out, I always find it in the road and get it back. So this happened yesterday. Actually, I found a dog in the road, and I was like, there's this, I don't know, it's like an escape artist dog, so I know exactly who its owners it is, and he just likes our backyard, so he'll just come wandering in, and then I'll manage to get him back on his leash and get him home. But so Mike had a dream that I brought home a lion, and was like, don't be mad, but there's a lion in the living room. And he was like trying to like make the kids dinner and like also not get eaten by the lion. And like, I feel a little like that's something that could happen in real life.
Absolutely. I mean, I would not surprise me at all if you told me you brought a lion home. But it's nice, like, as it's like clawing through a door. It just needs time to get used to the place.
Right. You can buy the giant cuts of meat at Costco. I have a friend who butchers cattle, and you can just buy half a cow. It's fine.
They go perfect. It'll sell in no time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it's like, as I say, I think the only other one that I kind of, maybe not a recurring dream, but I have multiple times dreamt, especially when I have desired something, like, you know, something for sale, so like something I want to buy, and it has often been like a video game console or whatever. I've had dreams where I've bought it and I've been playing it, and I've woken up and been like, I can't wait to play this some more, and then I'm like, oh, I already have that. That sucks.
I've had like as a kid, like Christmas dreams were like Christmas morning and you open your presents and you got the thing you really wanted, and then you wake up and you're like, oh.
Yeah. I've got to say, it's interesting because like I compare the actual experience, like buying those things, and first 2 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, plugging it in, setting it up is kind of thrilling.
Yeah.
But like very quickly that wears off. It's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, this is a thing that I have and it's nice and all, but okay.
I remember my dad was always he was always like into real estate and always looking at houses and other houses, but like the worst nightmare he ever had, and it was like always a reoccurring dream, was that he bought a shithole in Kentucky where we lived, and he paid like $1 million for it, and it's like a one-room shack, you know, and there's like a toilet in the living room, and he's trying to figure out how to like rig up a curtain that can go from like the ceiling to the floor to the ceiling, so you can have any privacy when you're using the bathroom. And like he's like, how did I spend $1 million on this house?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
And now
hilarious.
he would have those like every couple of weeks. It was so funny. It was so funny.
So interesting, the things that just get lodged in there and
Yeah.
then just get kind of regurgitated.
Yeah. So there's this quote by an Irish poet. It's called Ode by Arthur. Let me know if I'm pronouncing this wrong. O'Shaughnessy?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And it is, we are the, so, blah, 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 blah. We are the music makers and we are the dreamer of dreams. And I like that.
Oh,
So-
I've heard that before.
Well, it's because it's an Irish poet, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting so I did a little research on this, and like a lot of your dreams, like the interpretations of your dreams as an Irish person Northern Irish person, comes from Celtic lore. And a lot of our interpretation comes from the Native Americans.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, like, you know, if you dream, like, I actually took this from a reputable site on the internet called Irish something something. So if you dream of water, that means you're like concerned about an upcoming journey or fear of drowning. A common nightmare is many Irish cannot swim.
Oh, okay.
Is that true?
I
Like, do you have friends that
don't
can't
know.
swim?
Can
you?
I'm sure I have. I know I do have some friends who can't swim, but I would think that most of them could. I'm not sure though.
Aren't you guys like surrounded by water?
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Like, it's so true. But there is absolutely people who can't. I am still kind of quite surprised. My dad can't swim, actually. I think that's still the case. Like, he's just never learned how to do it.
Is it because the water's so cold, or that you just don't have
Probably.
pools?
And I mean, like, I feel like maybe when he was younger, there weren't quite as many. We've talked a bit before about leisure centres, which are kind of like YMCAs, basically. So we, I don't think there'd be quite as many of those, but like, we've got them everywhere now. But yeah, I think probably years back it wouldn't surprise me entirely, but I would think I think most people would be able to now.
I found that curious. So like
curious.
here, like dreaming of water is not seen as like a bad thing. There's no fear concerned or that has to do with it. It's more like a good sign, like symbolizing like purity or like revitalization. So it's more of like a good thing and not something that's scary.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I suppose, like, an interpretation that is, rooted in the place that you are is probably more relevant anyway,
Yeah. And I was thinking too, like, back to the swimming, like, it's different, swimming in Bray, right? As opposed to swimming in, like, Key West.
So true.
So.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cold as shit.
Yeah. I was
That's
like,
why
I had.
got my wetsuit.
Yeah, like a thick one.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading about blind people that have been blind since birth and
Uh-huh.
like the things that they see when they have
Ooh.
dreams. It's
Mm.
totally different than the seeing people with. I know there's a term, and I'm gonna hopefully use it correctly. Seeing people can uh, obviously like see things differently. So people that are blind since birth or not seeing since birth, it's a lot more sounds and feeling and less
That makes
sight
sense.
related, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I yeah, I wonder what that term. I'm trying to figure out what the term is.
I know. I think the
Yeah,
correct term for blind is not seeing, but I don't know what the opposite is.
yeah. I'm just curious now. Because like it's interesting because like I learned sighted. Is cited as right. Yeah, you got it right. Because like I recently learned that there's a word for so like autistic people are autistic, but like non-autistic people are allistic, which I didn't know that word
Huh.
until recently.
Huh.
Yeah,
I like that because when there's not a word for it, I get confused.
yeah, I like exactly, and I think it's a useful one, and it also like because I feel like we've talked a little bit about mental health stuff, and I've talked a little bit about trying to figure out where exactly I fit in.
Yeah.
I'm probably some part of the spectrum, I think,
Yeah.
and you know, conversations about the difficulties in understanding between, and I would always describe non, uh, um, I guess autistic people as normal, which in a disparaging way.
Right.
But I think that's not helpful necessarily. So
What is
yeah,
normal anyway?
exactly.
We've,
But I thought that was interesting.
huh. So, do you ever have dreams where you're flying or falling?
I don't think so. I I have a recurring memory of being in a plane. I think my memory is from when I was a kid and I was in a plane and I looked out and I saw the clouds for the first time, and it kind of crops up in dreams sometimes. But like it's one of those things
You
where
were
it's like
going to Guernsey, weren't you?
I was.
I
We've talked about this.
remember. I
Mm-hmm.
was actually
Good.
listening to
Nice.
you.
Nice. Wow. Incredible. And that has popped into dreams before, and like but it's one of these things where it's like uh, memory is what one part truth,
Mm-hmm.
several parts creativity,
Yeah.
and misremembering things.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So that comes up, and that's fine. Yeah.
Do you notice like how your dreams have your dreams changed from when you were a kid to like who you are now?
I think the dreams that I was telling you about, the recurring dreams, only started occurring later in my life. I mean, maybe 20s, definitely 30s. I feel like I remember having those sorts of dreams when I was traveling and I was like, in different countries and things like that, which would have been late 20s, early 30s. But yeah, I think that's the most significant shift. I think that like when I was younger, a lot more of my dreams were connected to fears, I guess, like so I suppose nightmares as
Yeah.
much as anything.
Yeah.
And like I don't think that that's that much different to my current dreams in that they are also connected to fears and fear of like the unknown and um you know uh, as I said, it's definitely almost like a fear engagement whenever I feel lost
Mm-hmm.
a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just different,
Mm-hmm.
different shape.
I think
What about you?
mine were more. I remember having more nightmares as a kid, and maybe it's just like I can sort it better now that I am an adult and I don't have a parent to run to.
Yeah.
So like, but I remember having like a recurring dream as a kid where we were in North Carolina. I was on the dock, and like my family and the dog were on the other side. It was like there was like water between the dock and the beach, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like boiling blood water. It was like blood red and it was boiling. So, I was trying to get to them and like they were trying to like figure out how to get to me. And then like the dog jumped in the water and was like trying to swim to me. And so I jumped into the water to try and save the dog. And like I woke up, but I remember, I think I had that dream like 5 or 6 times. Which is pretty intense for like, I think it was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 having that dream.
Yeah.
And
that is quite pretty intense.
Yeah.
Especially like,
like
I know how much you love animals as well.
Yeah.
Seeing that dog jump in.
And I was like, oh God, no. Like anybody else but the dog. So.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can hear her. She's like, I don't know what's up with her tonight. She's like trying to get in. She's like, I can hear her wee claws against the door.
I can't.
Okay. I'm glad that you can't.
No, it doesn't matter. What's
going on there?
I'm probably.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be in big trouble whenever I go out there.
Sure you are.
But it's fine. Whatever.
She's like, normally do this to me on Mondays, not Tuesdays.
I know. This is true. This is knocking our schedule out of whack.
My dreams now are like, other than spending too much money on like, boats, I just talk to people. Like I'll literally sit and just like have a full-on conversation with somebody.
Okay.
And like it's usually fine, and like it's like going out to coffee with someone. It's really boring and like not interesting, and I wake up and I'm like, okay, I just hung out with that person. And like, is it a sign I need to hang out with that person, or does dreaming and like having a conversation with them count and I don't actually then have to hang out with them?
That's a very interesting concept.
Uh-huh.
I think it only counts if they've had the same dream, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends that have like similar dream? I guess I don't know if it's like cultural to talk about dreams, but like my friends and I do talk about dreams and interpreting dreams.
The only reason I think I don't is because I'm a guy, and guys don't tend to all too often.
Like, dude, I had this crazy dream.
Oh, very occasionally, but only if they're absolutely nuts. But I feel like in this country, by and large, if you're like, I had this dream, people are like rolling their eyes so hard that, they're about to drop out of their head.
Gotcha.
Which is a shame, because like I do find them kind of fascinating. Like it's really what gets me about whenever somebody's like, right, let me tell you about this dream, and like 10 minutes later you're like, oh shit, this is still going. How long is this dream explanation going to be? Because a lot of times they're completely nonsensical, and I think you can maybe give me like a Cliff's Notes sort of version. Just give me all the highlights rather than then this thing happened, then this thing happened, and you're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's no real through line for me to hold on to here. I'm confused as hell.
Yeah. Do you think the dreams mean anything?
I think they are a way for your brain to kind of maybe try to process some shit, particularly probably shit that you're not processing in your real life.
Yeah.
Would be my thoughts. What do you think of that?
I think it's deeper than that.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I have a friend who is always like, she's kind of like half in this world, half in like fairyland. And I think that's a wonderful place to be. Like she's really cool. And like there are nights where like I'll have a dream where she and I are hanging out and chit-chatting in my dream, and she'll text me the next day and be like, I hung out with you last night. I'm like, yep. Like this has happened probably 5 or 6 times.
Love it.
And I'm like, so I feel like there might be more to it.
Yeah.
If you're open to it, maybe, and if you're able to remember it, that, things might actually be happening like on a subconscious level, but in a maybe not in a subconscious level as much as we think.
I mean, we've
to be totally witchy about it. Haha.
No, but it's like, I'm right there with you in that regard, because, and like one of the things that we have talked about on this podcast multiple times is
we know nothing.
And even personally is we know nothing.
Yeah.
We know fuck all, some total fuck all. So who knows? Like who knows what it is we're tapping into whenever we're dreaming, whether it is something more. And I think it's like good to be open to that as a possibility.
Yeah. And I think too, like, who knows how it relates to quantum physics? Who knows?
Yes.
And we're so into the multiverse right now, and like, there's one right there, and we're like, whatever,
So true.
Let's interpret it this way, but maybe it's actually like,
But I suppose
us
it's
in
easy.
another universe.
I think, like, as a self-defense mechanism, right, people just kind of dismiss that stuff because, it's too scary to, consider what the other possibilities might be, for a lot of people.
No, I'm afraid of space. It's terrifying. It's cold and dark and dead.
Yeah. I think it's the place.
Uh-huh. So...
To be. Sorry.
Space is the place.
Space is the place.
No.
Yeah.
No. That might have to go on a t-shirt.
Yeah, okay.
With
I
space
think
is
I
the
ripped it
place,
off.
and then on the
Yeah,
back, space is not the place.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you're Andy in
Right.
brackets.
Right. So, okay. Do you think that, like, do you think that how you take care of your body and the food that you eat maybe has something to do with, like, the dreams that you have?
That's a good question. And funny, it just came up recently because as we were playing D&D the other night, my friend put on like a cheese platter for us.
Yeah.
Which rocked.
Yeah,
Because I always love like a big like here's many different cheeses for you to try, many different crackers, and I'm like, fuck yes. And then
that's like my dream.
In the group chat,
I love it.
Oh, amazing! I was so happy. I was so thrilled. And the next day there was so much conversation about, okay, what cheese dreams did you have? But like nobody had any good stuff. And I feel like I didn't have any.
But people asked that question?
Yes, they did. Guys as well. So, right?
Yeah.
Very progressive.
Yeah. You're like, well, I didn't have the Gouda, so...
Yeah, this is true. Makes me think about oh, God, it's completely irrelevant. I'm going to go off tangent anyway. The Meaning of Life sketch the salmon moose, and they all died. And death taking them away, and it was a salmon moose, and like, oh, and they're all like leaving as ghosts, and one of them's like, wait a minute, I didn't try the salmon moose. Anyway,
okay, so I looked at the top 10 dreams in the USA and in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in Ireland, the top 10 things, or 9, however many, it doesn't matter. Number 1, snakes. Number 2, spiders. Number 3...
In Ireland?
Yes! And I was like,
right?
You guys don't even have snakes.
No.
I know! And you can't swim. What is happening?
It's true.
Okay, so...
Weird? Okay,
snakes,
sorry.
Snakes, spiders, teeth, death, rats, falling, sex, pregnancy, being chased, and water.
I don't even make the top 10. That's wild. Okay. How interesting.
Right?
Fascinating. That, I mean, like, I could probably have guessed some of those, but, like, some of the rest are wild to me.
I know. And, like, I don't know who they polled either, but
yeah,
that's what, and this was done in 2024, so it's not like,
fascinating.
Yeah. So,
I guess the freaking legend of St. Patrick looms large still in the Irish psyche even to this day.
I mean, it does here
wow.
too.
Yeah, it's true. Let's get shit-faced.
Drink green beer. Okay, so in the States, number 1, work. 2,
oh God,
dead people that we love. 3, riches and success. 4, family and relationships. 5, travel and vacation. 6, flying and running. 7, like your general nightmare. 8, death and dying. And then 9 is like daily life and routines.
Jesus Christ, America, that is depressing as fuck.
I mean,
like, all of that breaks my heart. Nearly every single one of them. Like, the Irish what list is nuts, but like, at least I'm like, okay, I can kind of get a lot of fears and stuff, but like, wow,
yeah,
that's heartbreaking.
I know. Number 1 being work. I was just like, yeah.
That bums me out so much.
I'm here to bum you out.
Yeah. Wow. Oh God. What a nightmare. I'm sorry, America. What is happening?
I know.
Yeah. That's wild. Truly wild. I mean, I'm glad you led with the Irish one. But like the American one almost is even worse.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, it's literally how we live our lives. Like, right?
Yeah.
And
It's true.
the issues that we have are in our dreams also. There's like no escape.
I'm now kind of curious to see, what are the commonalities in dreams in other parts of the world as well. Do you know what I mean? Whether there's any correlation. Like, and because I'm sure, if you went to another sort of work focused culture like Japan or whatever, that would loom large in dreams there too.
Probably. But I think I don't know. I feel like there's more mysticism almost, more focus on animals, more, I just feel, I don't know. I was really sad to read the American one.
Oh, truly. Yeah, and
And then the Irish one just made me like laugh.
Yeah. I love the insanity of the Irish one. It makes me feel really kind of, optimistic about Ireland.
Yeah,
honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
You're a fertile people dreaming about pregnancy.
And snakes.
And
spiders.
And spiders.
And rats.
Do you guys have rats?
I mean, we absolutely do, but like, once again, rats are not as big a problem, at least in my understanding, as like America, like in big cities in America, because we don't have those, mass clumps of people that America has,
Yeah.
that attracts rats a lot of the time.
So
Wild.
Yeah, so we're bound for another bubonic plague. Okay, so I looked into dreaming of clouds for you. So, and this would be the Irish interpretation. Maybe a fear of something you're covering up or a depression you are feeling.
Oh, okay. I
so
like
if
it.
If you dream about your clouds from your airplane.
Give me that again, sorry.
Maybe a fear of something you're covering up or a depression you are feeling. So I would wonder if you have that reoccurring dream and you wake up and you're like, am I depressed right now? I would just be curious.
I mean, normally, yeah. There's an element of it there, so that kind of adds up.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So, and then you were just talking about like other places and the types of things that they dream. Aborigines believe in something called the dream time.
Yes, I'm aware of this.
So you probably know more about this because you actually lived there. But like, I remember, I think my dad and I used to talk a lot about dreams because this brought up a bunch of conversations that he and I'd had, but he used to write screenplays and like he would be working through a script and trying to figure out something and he would get stuck, but then he would be like, I know I'm going to go in the dream time and I'll fall asleep and when I wake up I'll have the answer. And I was always like, so I Googled that when I did my research, not this morning, weeks ago. But like dream time or the dream state, like he talked about it all the time. And I didn't know that was an Aboriginal concept, not even concept. Okay. It's like literally something that they do. And they believe that the dream state is like where creativity comes from.
Yes,
and like how cool because I think we don't necessarily, at least in the States, think of dreams as being like a positive thing or like having any real bearing in life, but the Aboriginal people really, really do, and I think that is very interesting.
Like, I have to say, in terms of I learned nothing about it in Australia because Australia's relation to like Aboriginal culture is difficult, I would say, at best. But I feel I definitely was aware of it. And I think I was aware of it through comic books, actually. I feel, and I'm trying to remember exactly, but some of the stuff you were saying there absolutely makes sense and stuff that resonated with me and that I'd heard about before. But yeah, it's so interesting. I do kind of like. I mean, obviously there have been, dreams that. I was going to say great leaders. I don't mean great as in good necessarily, but people who had a lot of influence, dreams that caused them to absolutely change the course of history. You know, so I think as as guidance, it's such an interesting thing. It really is. When you consider that we have still today no idea where they come from, in that they are involved in decision making. It's just fascinating.
And I don't know if I would ever like do I need to go buy a boat and move with my family?
$3 million one.
Yeah. For 350 feet is big too, right?
Well, it's big. You need a crew.
I would need a crew. Yeah.
Okay, sign me up. I'm pretty incompetent.
I know.
I'm not too bad for being seasick, but I probably couldn't do anything of value in the boat. Well, I could cook.
That would be good. That would be good. Okay. So, let's see. I have a list of questions. I guess, would you want to communicate with people in your dreams and have it be real? Or do you just want to, tap out and be left alone?
I think, but the question is, do I want to communicate with people in real life? And the answer is,
nah. I know, right? That's a fair answer.
So, I was just thinking about I was listing my hobbies, all my favorite hobbies to a friend the other day. And we were talking about it earlier, and it's reading, playing video games, reading comic books, going to the movies, all things that I can do silently. It's my time, So I think if you could not manipulate, that's maybe the wrong word, but if you could use the dreams, to maybe enhance thought processes and as a way to collaborate with people and stuff, I think I would quite like that, But I think that they are so, certainly in my experience, so random and so it feels like they are very revealing to the core of who you are in a way that is quite exposing, That would be my kind of concern. But at the same time, not that I give us that much of a shit. I just told you about being seduced by my Latin American lover, possibly, and getting blindfolded, so I don't give a shit. But so yeah. I'm an open book, as you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of dreams, dreams causing positive action.
Yes.
Right, a good old epiphany is never a bad thing. So if the universe wants to invite that into my life, that'd be cool. Because sometimes I flounder and I have no. I haven't even watched any of the Oscar movies. That's how
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was excited to do it, and now I'm just I don't really want to watch any of these movies. They all look
I really want to see Honora so badly. I wish I'd seen it in the cinema. I'm hoping it gets a re-release if it does well. Honora?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No. I feel... I'm trying to think what's... Yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked with Oscar. We'll not get into it. This could be another 15 minutes here of talking about Oscar movies. Yes, I think I like how you're thinking about it there. But yeah. It's an interesting one.
Do you like dreaming?
Not all the time, but sometimes it's good. I don't like that. I don't like my recurring dream. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel a bit discombobulated, so I'm not crazy about that, I would say. What about you?
I like seeing my friends and talking to my friends in my dreams.
Yeah.
Like, I think actually, like, I know it sounds lame and I keep saying, like, it's so boring, but I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And maybe at some level, like, we really are talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that.
I like that.
And,
I like that.
It's interesting, too, having kids. Like, the reason that I thought about this, because my daughter woke me up the other night and she was like, I had a nightmare. And I was like, okay, so I just usually either let them crawl in with me or I'll crawl back in bed with them, wait till they fall asleep and then go back to bed. And she didn't want to talk about the nightmare until the next day. And and it really affected her. And I was like, dreams are weird, man. You know, like, we should talk about this.
Yeah.
But for her, it was Lord of the Rings. So we did all 3 movies over like 2 weeks, and
yeah,
it's a lot. Like, she was super into it. She's super into fantasy, but like,
yeah,
I don't know.
There's some scary stuff in there.
It's so well done that it's yeah, like, orcs are scary, you know.
Yeah, the Shelob scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like drawing the Eye of Sauron. She was like, this is realistic, and they've the ever-present, omnipresent eye that's just like, you know.
Yeah.
So
it is.
I have to be careful about the things that I show them because it does affect them. And also, like, what am I showing myself and doing in my daily life that then affects my dreams, you know?
So true. That's so true.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I love it. Do you want to do anything else with this? Do you have any other questions, or should we maybe wrap things up and move on to our last week section?
Wrap it up.
Okay. But it was a good chat. It was interesting.
I'm gonna Google Irish people and swimming when I'm done here.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to find out about that myself. This is one of those times where I claim to be British. No, I don't
You're
know.
like, I have a different passport. Sorry.
I'm constantly. I've got a group. I'm in a chat group with a Canadian friend and an American friend. Like, anytime they give the Irish shit, I'm like, I'm just grateful I'm British. And anytime they give the British shit, I'm like, I'm just grateful I'm Irish. Just changing sides.
I'm so jealous.
Suits me.
So jealous.
Yeah. But yeah. Good chat. I think we shall move on to our final week section, which is what's been bringing you joy this past week, or longer.
Early Nick Cage movies.
Interesting.
Specifically. Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
Helen Hunt.
Yep.
So good. And then I started Moonstruck yesterday, and I was like, God, and like him with his wooden hand, and she's like,
with Cher?
With Cher, because I'm reading her autobiography, listening to it. Anyways, so I'm just really enjoying, like, before he had his teeth capped and, had his hair plugs and was just like really, really, going for some crazy freaking weird roles.
Because like that was around Wild at Heart time as well, wasn't it? The Lynch one, which is another kind of.
That's on my list. So I was just like, I need to like give this. I don't know why I'm avoiding the Oscars movies, but this is what I'm doing with my time. So
it's like, even Conclave, which I enjoy. I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I would tell people they had to see it.
No, and you can tell which ones he's doing because he needs the paycheck, to pay off child support or whatever.
Yes.
Which like, do what you got to do, dude. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but the one that turned me back onto like his work was what's the one with him and Pedro Pascal?
Oh,
the
Incredible
Burden
of that movie.
What is it called? Incredible
Greatness, or I know exactly the movie you mean. I always forget the name. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's good fun.
You should totally see it.
Yes, it's been on my list for a while. Yeah,
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
That's it.
And if you want to see both of them pretending to be on acid, like, you should totally see this movie.
just the fact that it's the two of them together
Oh my
is
God,
really appealing to me.
It's so good.
And there's been a couple of his recent ones like Mandy I've been waiting to watch, and what's the other one? Color Out of Space or Color Into Space or something like that. I've been meaning to watch as well.
Nick Cage or Peter?
These are Nick Cage movies. These are Nick Cage
like,
movies.
Doing a lot right now, so.
Yes, he really is. But like I saw, like he did one that was like him in it was like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. I can't remember the name of that film, but it was fucking terrible. I thought.
Yeah. I saw
so
the one
avoid
where
that
he was like the vampire with
Yes,
Nicholas Hoult, and I did like that one actually.
I thought it was okay. It was better, or I think went in with high expectations, and it was a bit disappointing, but it was still fun. No, it's good. I mean, absolutely worth going back and revisiting his old films because he is a unique actor at a minimum.
Yes. What's bringing you joy, Andy? Why?
So I just completed Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you know what this is, but an Indiana Jones game came out late last year, which was, almost the idea of it was a proper piece of lore that fits into the Indiana Jones world. But through a video game, and they got a guy in who does a fantastic job of like doing an indie impression, and you're basically visiting different sites around the world. That the setup is essentially, there's spoilers here if anybody else is going to play it, but there's these like different sort of artifacts at different holy sites around the world, and these sites form a great circle around the world. There are like 17 tablets, I think, and here's the big spoiler for anybody who wants to play it, so in case you want to pause or whatever, they find the tablets, you track down the final kind of place where the Nazis have their final base, and they have found Noah's Ark, and they plug all the tablets in Noah's Ark, and blah blah blah, and like basically these stones allow you to like fold space and time and travel to different parts of the world.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah, and like I really I thought it was a cool, like I was up and down with it in terms of like, at first I was like, this is cool, then I thought some of the levels were a bit too big and it was a bit baggy, but I think overall it delivers quite a fun Indiana Jones experience, and it feels quite authentic, and I feel like that was a really big hurdle to pass, and they did a really good job with it. So
like,
yeah,
even the later Indiana Jones movies were like not.
I would recommend playing this over either of the last two movies for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's good fun. So yeah, it's been bringing me joy this week.
Yay.
But yeah. Okay, in that case, can you tell everybody where they can find us?
Yes, you can find us at bendypodcast.com. Buy a t-shirt, tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell your enemies.
And tell your enemies. And thank you to those that have left. We've got 5-star reviews on Spotify. No one has given us less than a 5.
Perfect. I love it. I've actually, and I don't know whether this is necessarily going to happen, but I ended up having a conversation with somebody in this country who also does a podcast, who is looking for guests from other podcasts. There's a possibility I may end up guesting on it.
You totally should.
So we'll see.
You totally should.
And that might be a bit of crossover as well.
That'd be great. That will promote and promote.
Yeah, exactly.
Take over the world.
Exactly. Slowly but surely.
Right.
Okay, we love it. All right, folks. In that case, we've come to the end of this week's episode. And we'd like to remind you, as always, to stay bendy. Nice, that was a good one. Long one. All right.
Makes me sleepy.
I know.
Bye, everybody. Love you.
Love you. Bye-bye.